All right, we made it in. We got there. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the live stream. I'm going to go live here on Twitter for the first time. There we go. Now I'm live on Twitter too. I've been doing the Instagram live lately just to kind of scope it out and see how it is. But I haven't done one on Twitter yet. And I think that Twitter might be a better avenue for this kind of stuff. I think Twitter's a little bit more business focused than Instagram, and my Instagram is very personal. I guess my Twitter's kind of personal too, but I like promote my brand as my name, so it's kind of like I got to find a mix there. But anyways, welcome to the vlog. Welcome to the end of the week. It is Friday, and I'm ready to crack a beer and talk some business. Cool down, ramp down for the week. It's been a long week for me. I've had a lot of project work. I'm trying to close out a project that I've been working on for months, and this kind of stuff. The last 2 or 3% take the most time and are seemingly the most challenging. So, we're wrapping that down. We're bringing on a lot of new business. The firm's doing great, and I'm excited to do more stuff, and I'm excited to keep doing these blogs every week. So. Just to give the rundown of what this is, I call this Week in Marketing, but really what it is I take a look at news articles that have come out in the last week related to marketing topics like social media and advertising and that sort of stuff, and I pick out the ones that I think are the most useful and the most interesting, and then we take a look at a few of them. I weigh in on the topics, give a little bit of my opinion as a marketer. We laugh a little bit, we drink a few beers, and then we toast the weekend, and that's about it. So the idea is to try to provide useful information to business people and business owners and leadership, and keep them abreast to what's going on in the marketing world. So that's what I'm doing here. That's what I'm doing. Plus, I'm having some fun in my own office and just doing some stuff. I like to close out the week like this. Now, every week we have a beer to go along with the podcast. And I'm going to adjust my thing here, maybe. There we go. How's that look? There we go. And this week, I got a special one. This one was gifted to me. I got a 6-pack here. And it's the Belching Beaver Deftones Phantom Bride beer. So this beer is a collaboration between Belching Beaver Brewing Co., which is in California. And let me see where exactly in California. Oceanside, California. And the Deftones. So it's kind of cool. I haven't had this before, but I have seen the label for it, so I'm interested to try it and see what it's all about. It's an India Pale Ale, so it's an IPA, weighing in at 7.1% alcohol. So we're gonna try not to finish this throughout the whole live stream, otherwise things might get crazy. All right, solid beer. It's very standard IPA, and I like that. Nowadays, IPAs are getting real popular, so it's like everyone's got like a fucking weird thing they're doing with it. Like, here's a peach IPA and a cranberry one and like a grapefruit one, and those are fine, but sometimes it's just nice to have a good old solid IPA in the mix. So, all right. So another thing that's changed up this week, as opposed to previous weeks. Usually, what I've been doing is I'll like fill my whole computer screen with me up in the corner of the screen. And the way I've been doing that is I've been using QuickTime to just hold it's not even recording, it's just showing my face from the video recorder. The problem with that I've been noticing is that the videos don't come out very good. It's kind of like delayed and it's fuzzy and that sort of stuff. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to try to be my own camera crew, because this is a shop of one, right? It's just me here. So what I'm going to try to do is flip back and forth between the article and myself. So I'll talk a little bit, and then I'll flip to the article, and then come back to myself, and and just go back and forth that way. That way, you're getting like a real, like, as good of a live stream picture as you can from this, as well as getting a look at the articles. Of course, all the articles will be linked in the YouTube video and the eventual blog post on my website. Let's go in this. Also, Twitter people, if you end up seeing this, I have a YouTube channel where you can see my actual screen. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're just hearing me, you're watching me on Twitter. You're just hearing me, which is great. You're hearing me and seeing me in sight, and I'm a great looking guy, so I get it. I get the appeal. But if you're trying to see the screen and what I'm looking at, which probably helps, because I read stuff or I'm actually looking at graphs. Like today, we're going to be looking at some graphs. I would check out the YouTube channel for sure. All right, so let's get into this. So this week, a lot of what we're going to talk about is Facebook. And, I've been getting the question asked more and more lately, and I think it's a direct result of people just seeing in the bad publicity in the news for Facebook and all the hipsters on the internet being like, Facebook's dead. I'm leaving it. I think there was a congresswoman that left Facebook, and it was news this week. We're not going to cover that article, but everyone's leaving Facebook supposedly, and there's all this news about it being dead. So the question is Facebook dead? And oh, geez, holy moly, technical difficulties, lost the mic. Let's fix that. All right, we're good. We're back. We're fine. All right. So the question is Facebook dead? And I think that my freaking iTunes got played somehow. My mic fell onto my keyboard and started my iTunes somehow. I don't understand how or why, but we were able to get that resolved. So now back to your regular scheduled programming. All right, so the news is Facebook dead? And the first article that got brought over to me, or not brought over to me, that I found really posed this question in an interesting way. So let's flip over to the screen. We're going to share screen number 1 here, and let's get that up. So great. So here we are. So this article is positioned to talk to investors of Facebook, okay, and are people who are considering Facebook as an investment vehicle. And this guy, Michael Wiggins de Oliveira, he is like saying that Facebook isn't really an investment risk, that it's actually still growing, and that it's not dying. So I wanted to read an excerpt from here because I think it's a great way to start this conversation. And I think that Mr. Michael Wiggins de Oliveira, I keep saying his name, Oliveira, like aloe vera. It's probably improper pronunciation, but we're going to keep moving here. So I think he's got a good point. I think Michael's got a good point from an investor perspective. So let's read this portion here. CEO Mark Zuckerberg believes that Facebook's competitive advantage lies in creating meaningful experiences for its users. And right here, I believe that despite the doubters, Facebook continues to perform astonishingly well. While many believe that Facebook is no longer as relevant today as it is in the past, the facts simply don't back up this theory. Facebook's daily active users come out to 1.52 billion as of last quarter, up 9%. Compared with the same period a year ago. Additionally, the number of daily active users in the US and Canada has remained flat year over year and has not been falling or losing relevance as naysayers have been emotionally arguing. So Michael's like, look, people be saying that, I got to flip back over here. We're going to stop present. There we go, and I'm back. So Michael's saying, everyone's like naysaying Facebook, and it's true. Everybody, it seems like every news outlet, every media source is quick to punch Zuckerberg in the dick, and they just like it. It seems like it's like a feeding frenzy out there. So there's a lot of people saying Facebook's dying and that it's going away and no one's going to use it. And I think that the point here that Michael is making is that look at the stats, right? Like Facebook total users is going up, it's not going in the US. It's not going down, so it's not losing users. And furthermore, to add to Mike's point, Facebook revenue is up, right? Like, let me show you a couple more stats here. Facebook revenue, ad revenue is up, and users are generally up. So let's take a look here. Let me flip back over to my screen. And I have some numbers. So if we look at Facebook revenue over the past few years, in 2016, 27 billion. 2017, 40 billion. That's up 47% from 2016. In 2018, it was 55.8 billion, up 37% from 2017. Right? So Facebook revenue continues to go up. What else continues to go up? Ad spend. So, that's an article for later. Let's go back over to, here we go. So, advertising revenue from Facebook continues to go up. So, that's what's interesting here. So, 2017, US, non US, and worldwide revenue is here. It's about 28. What is this nomenclature? Billion, probably in billions of dollars. So, up 28 billion spent in 2018, 33 billion. And when you compare that to the idea that users continue to increase too, at least year over year, then you have a strong argument that Facebook is not dead, it's not dying. However, I would challenge this idea because I think that there's a couple of things that we really have to take note in. And Michael even says it in that article that in the US, there really hasn't been any growth in users in the past couple of years. And this chart shows that, right? So in quarter three, 242, what is this, million users. In quarter four, 242. And in quarter two, it was only 241. So it grew a little bit towards the end of last year, but then just flattened off, right? And that, I think, is an important thing to notate, is that for a platform that has constantly grown and grown and grown and grown, now in the US, we're starting to flatline. Also, what I wanted to show was I want to flip back over to that advertising spend, is that if you compare the rates at which spending is happening, that it's increasing, there's an interesting bit of stat that I think is relevant to this conversation. In non-US countries, that's this blue part of the chart here, ad revenue in 2017 was 15.49 billion. In 2018, it jumped up to 18.95 billion for non-US ad spenders, right? This revenue came from non-US places. That's a 22% jump. Now, in 2017, 12.68 billion was, billion, right? $1 billion. I keep forgetting it's billion or million? $1 billion. Anyways, in the US, 12.68 billion was spent in 2017 was revenue to Facebook from advertising. In 2018, the ad revenue was 14.89. That's only a 17% jump. So what I'm saying here is that the pace at which growth is taking place is not as fast inside the US as it is in other countries. And the growth on Facebook's platform really is in countries outside of the US. Inside the US, it's not growing, right? It's still growing ad dollars, but at a slower rate than it's growing outside of the country. So that's an important thing to notate. And I'm not the only one saying this. So according to Forbes, Facebook ad spend growth from national marketers is slowing, intelligence firms' data shows. So let's take a look at, let's just read through some of this. So slight cracks might be appearing in the dominance of the digital advertising duopoly, particularly Facebook, as some data suggests a slowdown in the rate of ad revenue growth for the giant social platform, as well as a shrinking of the combined Google-Facebook share of overall advertising pie. So that part's right. There's more players that are starting to carve in on that like digital advertising market. Amazon is one of those, which we're going to talk about later in the broadcast. So let's continue reading now. This might be perceived as some legacy media brands as good news as 2018 comes to a close. But the data still shows double-digit ad growth even for Facebook, which has endured an unprecedented 12-month run of bad publicity. And the revenue that's shifting from Google Facebook's duopoly is going to new players, not necessarily to traditional media. Still, there's a story in the relative movement of ad spending. The Advertising Intelligence Service's Standard Media Index reports that Facebook's growth from national advertisers, not including local or small businesses, is slowing. In quarter one of this year, SMI reports Facebook's year-over-year ad revenue growth rate was 35%. In quarter two, it was 30%. And in quarter three, the rate of growth slowed again to 16%. It's almost half of what it was in quarter two, according to SMI. So this is what they're saying. They're saying that the pace is slowing down. Now, growth is still good. Growth is still growth. And if you're talking about it from an investor perspective, growth is still there. But when you factor in the stagnated user growth inside the US and the slower pace of advertising overall and the significantly slower pace of advertising from large buyers, big media guys, not your local or small businesses, then there's something to be kind of concerned about, right? You might say, well, is Facebook dying? Maybe that's the question that we should be asking. Not that it's dead, but that Facebook is potentially dying. So let me flip back to my screen here so you can see me. We're going to take a sip of a beer. I guess that's an advantage of the Twitter folks, is that you get to see me the whole time. You don't have to flip to a white screen that I'm reading some stuff off of, which is kind of cool. I guess you're watching me read, if that's a thing. But yeah, so that was me looking down at my Twitter thing. Now I'm looking back up at YouTube. Yeah, so the question really is not, is Facebook dead? Because it's not dead, clearly. You can't call it dead if ad revenue is going up. You can't call it dead if overall growth of the platform is still happening. You can't call it dead even if it's just stagnated. My question would be, is it dying? Are we starting to see the hump, the peak? Have we reached the peak of Facebook? And I think that's a more important question. Are we going to start to see a decline? Or are we going to continue to remain flat? And what does that really mean to the user base? Because I think there's two ways to look at this. Okay, first is from an investor perspective. I'm looking at those stats and going, all right, are we growing? Are we making money? That sort of thing. But if we've learned anything from social media, is that social media is kind of the users of social media kind of create something else, right? That isn't really tangible through stats, and it's kind of like that coolness factor. It's kind of like, are people enjoying this platform? Do they want to remain on it? Are they getting value out of it, or do they just look at Facebook as just like, a thing that exists, a standard deal? Is it something that really is generating value? And I think that that's part of the question that's hard to quantitate from an investor perspective. Do people think Facebook's cool? And I think that sounds like a silly question. Is it cool? Would you ever ask that in a survey? Probably not, or at least you would ask it more, a little bit differently. But I think it's an important question to ask, because if Facebook isn't cool, if it's not providing value to the people on it, then it is dying faster than people want to realize. And even though ad revenue is going up, that could be a bad thing, right? Like if all of us marketers are killing the platform because we're just advertising it all the time. Think about, during, any like Black Friday, right? There's a bajillion advertisements all over Facebook. Think about election time. There is tons of election ads all over Facebook. And in my opinion, tangent, I think we should have a conversation about not allowing political ads at all on Facebook. And if I were sitting around the table at Facebook exec, I would seriously ask this question, because I think that you're making your platform not useful or not valuable to your consumers. And if your consumers don't find the platform valuable, then they're going to leave it. And this is just like reiterated with some of the bad press that goes on with Facebook. So let's look at a couple more headlines. Reshare my screen here. So, and this is just stuff that comes out every week. Facebook stored millions of Instagram passwords in plain text. Dude, not good, Facebook. Not good. We just covered a story like 2 weeks ago of a big old leak of like 500 million people leaked. It appears that millions of Instagram passwords were just stored in plain text. Furthermore, Facebook admits to harvesting 1.5 million people's email contacts without consent. They were just double checking, they were like asking you to verify your email and then harvesting that to sell to advertisers or whatever, or to have in their database, and that's not good. People are already concerned about privacy. Now, a lot of articles that are arguing this point about Facebook dying or whatnot, they're like saying, flip this off. They're saying, well, even despite this bad press, Facebook is still hanging in there. And I would say, yeah, so far it's been hanging in there just fine. But the problem is that how long can you keep that up? How long can you have a platform that seemingly is getting advertised on more, and typically more ads equal less fun for people? They don't like it as much. 2, your growth is stagnated. And 3, now you're in the press all the time for this bad stuff. It's a recipe that's pointing in a direction that it's a recipe that's pointing. It's a storm that's pointing in a direction we don't want it to head. I don't want to see Facebook die. I think it's one of the coolest stories of my generation. Zuckerberg's a dope dude, and he's like formed this whole thing, and I think it's awesome. But ultimately the people will decide with their attention. They'll vote with their attention. But here's the other thing, is that it just continues with Facebook. And now, according to it was this NBC News, the United States is looking for ways to hold Zuckerberg accountable for Facebook problems. Federal regulators are discussing whether and how to hold Facebook chief executive Mark Zuckerberg personally accountable for the company's history of mismanaging users' private data. Two sources familiar with the discussion told NBC News on Thursday. The sources wouldn't elaborate on what measures are specifically under consideration. The Washington Post, which first reported the development, reported that regulators were exploring increased oversight of Zuckerberg's leadership. So this is like part of that campaign of the United States government and media outlets as a whole attacking Facebook. They really want, they don't want Facebook to succeed for some reason, even though I think that this is like a modern American tycoon. Why would you not want him to succeed and help? And think about the things that Facebook has done. It's helped connect people all over the globe. People who never had internet before or were never able to connect with other people, in different places are now able to do that. Now, that comes at a cost, because as much as Facebook's helped the world, they've certainly damaged it. There are many stories of elections being fucked with countries like threatening to put Facebook executives in jail because of the stuff that's going on that they're allowing to happen, privacy concerns being part of that. So it's not an easy water to navigate at all for Zuckerberg or for Facebook. But, I don't want to see him go down. And it's just strange to me that there's not, I guess that, if it bleeds, it leads. Bad, kind of raunchy stuff like this tends to get clicks. But it is rather interesting. So back to the question, is Facebook dead? No, I don't think it's dead. Is it dying? I think that that's something we should really consider at this point. I think that Facebook is probably is at a tipping point right now. And the next year, 2019, is really going to tell how this platform is going to move forward. And we should really look at those stats at the end of the year and see where the users have come. Are they coming in? Or are they leaving? What do ad dollars look like at the end of the year? And we'll see. This is another big election year, so it's also going to impact what goes on with Facebook. So that's going to be part of it. And we'll see. It's very, very interesting, though. Something to watch out for. And it impacts you as a business owner. So this is kind of like news stuff about Facebook. And you may be sitting here going, well, how does this impact me? It impacts you because Facebook is one of the #1 digital advertising platforms out there. If you're advertising online, you're definitely thinking of Facebook and you're definitely thinking of Google. Those are the two big ones, Facebook being a major part of that. So if Facebook starts to lose its relevancy, start to lose usership, then those are potential audience members for you, right? So how do you advertise to those people? And that's going to be a super important question if Facebook starts to, do one of these. This is the airplane, I don't know if I'm coming up or going down. I don't know yet. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, I'm gonna have some beer. Almost choked there. That'd have been bad. Okay, so what's up, Twitter? How's it going? We're hanging out over here, chilling. All right. Yeah. So that's enough Facebook news, but we're not transitioning far. The next bit of stuff we want to look at is Instagram. So, and Instagram is a company owned by Facebook. So it's not a far jump here, but it is an interesting one. So Instagram hides like counts in leaked design prototype. So I'll paraphrase this a bit. Burping. TechCrunch basically is saying, look, this dude, Jane Mansion Wong, did some diving through the servers, through the web logs for, I think they call it data mining on Instagram. And it looks like he uncovered some prototypes, at least, of Instagram without a like counter. So as you know, if you're on Instagram and you're scrolling through posts, you can see how many people like it, right? So that is what's on table being removed. And the idea is that, I'll read this portion. It says hiding like counts could reduce herd mentality, where people just like what's already got tons of likes. It could reduce the sense of competition on Instagram, since users won't compare their own counts with those of more popular friends or superstar creators. And it could encourage creators to post what feels most authentic rather than trying to rack up likes for everyone to see. So the idea is to try to make Instagram, less of like a competitive place, and more about just sharing content because you want to share it. And I think that they're probably, onto something there when thinking about this. Okay. Um, it's a weird one though, because Twitter's trying to do the same thing, like hiding retweet or hiding, likes. And there's some people that would argue that that is kind of like a way for these platforms to kind of guide, the message a little bit more. And let me explain what I mean by that. Like, there's like political accounts and that sort of stuff that will post stuff, news accounts that will post things, and they won't get many likes or retweets, or their like to retweet count is off. So they may get like 1,000 likes, but only have like 2 retweets. And you may think, how could your article be liked 1,000 times but only retweeted twice? And it's a clear sign of a following that is like fake, And I think the same kind of thing is happening on Instagram, and I think that it heavily relates to influencers. So, if you're an influencer, you may like pay to have a shit ton of likes on your account, and people like your post all the time. And that could inflate your value a lot if someone's just looking at your likes on different posts. And I think that's true. At the same time, I think that those likes are also a measure of your posts. But it's not the end all be all measure. The true measure is your followership. Your true measure is your engagement scores, like how many of those followers are engaging. And you really, if you're going to be looking at an influencer, you got to go and like read through the comments on their posts and see how many of those are authentic. Is that something that's really, is this influencer really having a connection with their audience? And this is why I brought up this article, is because I think there's going to be an impact here to the influencer world. Is it going to be a better one or a worse one? I don't know. The whole like thing is what these platforms were kind of built on, right? Like Facebook's like logo is a like thumbs up. Instagram, that heart is iconic. And they do say, according to these like things that what's this guy's name, Jane Mansion Wong uncovered, that you as your own self should be able to see your likes still. So you'll be able to see that you have 20 likes on a post, but it won't be public, right? You won't be able to see it. If you're just looking at that person's post and you're not that person. So you'll still be able to see it. So, they talk about like making it better, making you want to post stuff. If you're still going to be able to see your likes, you could still feel bad. I guess you're just not going to see other people's likes. I don't know. So we'll see. I think that there's going to be a little bit of rock in the boat there on Instagram, and we'll see what flushes out of it. I think it's an interesting experiment, though. If we're trying to make the platform a little bit more, just about the content and not about the social recognition. Although, like I said before, that's going to have an impact on the influencer world. And maybe that's why they're doing this, because there's a ton of money that influencers make by being on Instagram that Instagram doesn't get part of at all. So I wonder if they're trying to curve that a little bit by making influencers a little less overvalued, I think there could be something there too. But we'll see. We'll see how it pans out over the next, year. Or when this rolls out. There's no talk of when this actual update is going to roll out. So we'll see. I don't know. Keep you updated. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. All right. We're going to move on to the last story of the day. Cheers for drinking more beers. All right. Last story of the day has to do with Amazon and their further expansion into the advertising space. So Amazon plans to use digital media to expand its advertising business. This is from the Motley Fool. Amazon's advertising business jumped from a small footnote in its earnings report to a $10 billion business in almost no time flat. Amazon grew this segment quickly by picking most of the low-hanging fruit, banner ads and sponsored listing on its product search results pages. In building out its ad business, Amazon launched several small ventures, hoping some would bear fruit for the company. It bought Twitch about 5 years ago, and it recently refocused the streaming site on advertising. It launched IMDb Freedive, an ad-supported video streaming service. And at the start of the year, it's already looking into expanding into more ad-supported video. And this week, Billboard reports the company is considering launching an ad-supported music streaming service. Amazon hasn't confirmed such a service is coming or that it will expand its ad-supported video efforts. So I think that by the time this article was written, I found one. I should have brought it up here. Like maybe it came out yesterday. That shows that the Amazon Music service is out, and it was claimed to be kind of a Spotify killer, not Shopify, a Spotify killer. And people are saying it's more of just it's just an advertising thing. And I think that there's probably some truth to that. It's going to be a free music service. I think you can only get it on your Echo right now, your Alexa, and it's just like Pandora free or Spotify free. You can listen to like 2 songs and then they shoot you an ad. And I think this is a cool one for Amazon. They already have Amazon Music. They should be serving ads in it. And what's interesting about this article and about this news is that think about what we said, a few articles ago about Facebook losing market share to other players in the digital ad space. Amazon is one of those players, and they're adding more services for you to be able to advertise on. What's cool about the streaming service is that you're not necessarily going to need to have a product on Amazon to advertise there. So you can advertise anything. And I think that if they really build it out how Pandora does it and how Spotify does it, then they could have I lost the word. A good is the word I was looking for, a good revenue stream from this music streaming service ad space, right? And they're going to continue to carve market share. There's no music space in Facebook. Google doesn't have an audio version. They have the Google Home, but as far as I know, they're not having a music service on there that isn't like Spotify or Pandora. There's no Google Music. So Amazon really has an opportunity to sell ads on a platform that they control. And that's like typical ad. That sounds like typical Amazon to me, So I think it's cool, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. I've been really trying to see how the Alexa is going to monetize itself from an advertising perspective, and this is one of them. So yeah, cool stuff. I'm going to definitely check out how to get these kind of ads on Amazon Music. I bet you they come out. Hopefully, they come out real cheap. Like if I was Amazon, I'd be selling ad space for like fucking cheap. Let's get a bunch of people on here. Let's test it out. Let's flush it all out, and then we'll increase pricing over time. But it's real cool. So we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. That's about it for me this week. I think we did this in about, my Twitter's live stream counter is at 33 minutes. So that's good. I've been trying to shoot for about 45 minutes on this stuff. I think last week's was long. It was like 50 minutes. But this week's a little bit shorter, and that's how I'd like to do them. And I think the content was real good. We buzzed through stuff, and I like switching back and forth. You get to see me. You get to see the content. You're not seeing me like have ADD on the screen, like scroll it up and down and give you motion sickness. So, you get to just look at my face, and we get to have a cool conversation. Just you and I, bud. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for checking out the video. It's going to be on YouTube. I don't know if Twitter keeps the live stream storable. We'll find out. This is the first one I've done, so we're going to check her out. And it will be on YouTube. It'll be on my blog, and it's already on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, all right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.